I have made a bunch of Ninjago weapons over the years, and now that I'm in a new shop, I want to make some more. But before I do that, I want to learn from the ones that I've already made to see where I can do better. And so I want to take a look back at the weapons I've already made to see where are they now. The Sword of Fire. This weapon is where it all began. My son asked me to make a Ninjago weapon for him. I did, and it started us off on this Lego making journey. It was a great project. I loved how it turned out. My son loved how it turned out, and so did everybody else. So much so that it was immediately stolen. The
Scythe
of Quakes. I took all of the lessons from carving the Sword of Fire when I carved this one. And even though it's made out of basswood and over the years it has been very used, it's still in pretty good shape. Yes, there are some dings and nicks and scratches, but overall this is a weapon that we still get a lot of fun and a lot of use out of. The Shurikens of Ice. The Shurikens of Ice was my first attempt at carving something besides wood. And knowing how popular it is to carve things out of foam, I decided to do that and learned that it's a very messy process. I know a lot of people get a lot of enjoyment out of carving out of foam. I just learned it wasn't for me, which is why it's been my only project that I've carved out of foam. One of the things about foam that I quickly learned was it's not very long lasting. As fun as they were to play with, the more we played with them, the more they broke down and eventually just fell apart. The Nunchucks of Lightning. I have gotten a lot better at 3D modeling since the Nunchucks of Lightning, which somebody else actually modeled. Of all of the Ninjago golden weapons that I made, it is definitely the one that looks the goldenest. But one of the things about 3D printing is that unless you have a solid infill, there's always going to be some instability to something, especially if you're using a little lot. Which admittedly, we use the Nunchucks of Lightning a lot. And so even though they lasted pretty well over the years, eventually they too just broke. The Mega Weapon. The most non-functional weapon that I've ever made. It was fun to carve and it looked cool, but the head of the Mega Weapon was just so heavy that it didn't take long after playing with it for a while that the head just snapped off. The Sword of Sanctuary. This was my first project that I included epoxy in, and I've learned a lot since then, but at the time I didn't know about things like bubbles in the epoxy, how to prevent bubbles in the epoxy, like a pressure pot. And so what ended up happening is that eventually it just broke. It still glows, which is super cool, but it didn't last a long time before it fell apart. Lloyd's Sword.
Lloyd!
Spell it.
L-L-O.
Lloyd! Love how this one turned out. And I learned how to make the swords more durable, and so this one has lasted. We didn't end up keeping it. We had a friend who had a son that really liked it, and so we sent it off to him. And as far as I know, it still looks great and is being played with to this day. The Blades of Deliverance. The Blades of Deliverance were a turning point for me, because up until that point, what I would do is that I would take wood, I would carve it out, and then I would just paint it. I wanted to try something different with those weapons because they're so iconic and so contrasty that I figured using two species of wood would give that contrast in color. And they did. The leatherwork on the handle didn't last as long as I had hoped, but again, I was new to that and I've learned a lot since then. We played with those blades a lot. Honestly, I think we played with those weapons more than we played with any other of the Ninjago weapons that I made. But again, we played with them so much that eventually they broke as well. Cole's Golden Hammer. I'm not gonna lie, this has been my favorite Lego Ninjago weapon so far. Beyond the fact that I think this one looks the best, it also has the functioning for me of being a shop mallet. The coolest shop mallet in any woodworking space. It's also the Ninjago weapon that has held up the best over the years, partly due to the fact that it's so big and bulky. Unfortunately, I don't know where it is. It is somewhere, but we just moved, things are still in boxes, and I'm assuming it's packed up, but it is here, somewhere. The Anacondre sword. Bulkiness really does help when it comes to weapons, I've learned. That and trying to be a lot more intentional with the joints and making sure that the inserts and things are big enough that they don't just snap off after using them for a little bit. And because I've learned how to make things better over the years, this one has lasted. I really love how I can utilize wood species to get the color and contrast in the weapons without having to rely on paint. It was the first weapon I made for my daughter, and she loves it and still uses it to this day. Nia's Golden Spear. I'm sure it's here somewhere. Being the newest Lego Ninjago weapon that I made, it has held up the best. But like Cole's hammer, it's in a box somewhere. But it has held up. When I first started making these weapons, there was a lot of things that I didn't know. There was a lot of things that I had to learn. And I've taken those lessons that I've learned in each of the weapons that I've made to try to make the next weapon better. And now that I'm in a new space and a new shop, I look back on those original weapons as like Series 1. And looking on to Series 2 weapons, I'm going to try to make these weapons even better than Series 1. And besides showing you how to make these weapons out of wood or 3D printing or epoxy or however I end up making them, I'm also going to show you how to make them out of cardboard. Because I know not everybody has access to the tools and things that I have that I use to make these weapons. And so with each weapon moving forward, I'm going to have a printout just for you that you can print out, put on cardboard, and then make your own Ninjago weapon. So I hope you stick around for that. I am super excited about all the projects that I have coming out. And I hope you are too. So until then, I'm going to go find Cole's hammer.